What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Crypto Tips. My name is Toby.
And my name is Heidi.
And we are talking about Cardano and why we are not in love with it. I know it's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but we are not sponsored. We don't care. And we're going to tell the truth regardless of what people think or not. So,
yeah. And this is also kind of, maybe if you're a Patreon member, if you're an OG Patreon member, you might remember our past class where we did we showed how to do your own research, and we actually featured Cardano. We talked a lot about the pros and cons within that class, but today we're just going to revisit it and definitely look into, the developments that have happened with Cardano, and just give an updated version of our opinion on it.
And we will explain at the end what we think of Cardano being an ETH killer.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. All right, so let's go over a little bit of the tokenomics. So according to stakeandrewards.com, 74% of Cardano is staked right now. And that's part of the reason why the price is going up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily because of any developments that are happening on Cardano. If you're new to crypto, hopefully you're going to learn this concept of buy the rumors, sell the news. As you might know, Cardano had a pretty big event happening in Africa. We're definitely going to be covering that soon. But this whole concept of, again, buy the rumor, sell the news. That's why a lot of people like to make announcements. Justin Sun is kind of known for like this guy who loves to announce that he's going to make an announcement because he's trying to get people to buy Tron. And then if there ever is anything happening, usually people are selling because they've, bought before it happened, and so they saw the price action moving up, and then they're taking profits. So I think that's actually why Cardano isn't really skyrocketing after this new release of what they're building in Africa. And I think, this whole concept of staking coins and having a locked supply is adding to kind of this concept of a limited supply, much like Bitcoin, a scarce supply. And so that's lending to its price appreciation, in my opinion, much more so than any kind of, unfortunately, any kind of development that Cardano is finally having. They're few and far between, I feel like. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think part of the reason why the price is going up too is because, Cardano is promising about 100 times faster transactions than Ethereum. And that's pretty huge, that's exciting. I really want to see that because that's similar to, Solana and all these other coins, as well as second layer solutions. So this could really help out with the network and mass adoption. And that gets me excited about that. What else gets me excited? Kind of. Is the African project. Okay, so a lot of people are like, yeah, Africa, it's gonna be great. Chill out. Hold on a second, guys, because first off, Heidi and I have been to Africa.
Yeah.
We've been all over. We bust it through for multiple days on a bus, going through different countries in Africa. Yeah. I can tell you, Africa is a wild place, first of all, and second of all, you've got to bribe your way through a lot of these countries. That's something that nobody's going to tell you about that.
There's that phrase, TIA, this is Africa, like it's life here or there.
But bribery is good, in my opinion, for a lot of different places.
It gives you wiggle room.
It does give you wiggle room. Like, for instance, first world countries are very hard to bribe because you need multiple millions and billions to bribe your way through. Whereas third world countries, you don't need as much. Anybody can really do it. But
it's also kind of proportionate, right, to like the wealth gap between third world countries and more developed countries. But
sure, but let's get into this though. I think it's a pretty cool project. Okay, the project that he wants to implement is Prism, not Prison, but Prism with an M. And so what they're trying to do is they're going to take 5 million high school students over there and give them like a form of ID, okay, that they can put on the blockchain. And what I think one of his goals is pretty much to bank the unbanked. And so that's actually one of my goals in life, is to help people be banked. I've been to over 100 different countries around the world, most of them third world countries. And, I've worked in different projects as well. And, what I've seen is huge amounts of poverty, like beyond your wildest dreams. It's crazy. And these people need help. And I think there's about 2.6 billion people that are unbanked right now around the world. And so this is a huge issue, you know, and one of the main things that these people lack is a form of ID and something that they can present to like a bank, or whether or not they want to be their own bank as well. It doesn't matter, as long as they can find a way that they can preserve some wealth. That's key.
Or to just like leverage the position that they have. There's no real accounting system or database where it can be legitimate and represent, you know, what you have, and use that to leverage your position to to make your life better. You know, we in the U.S. or in most other parts of the world, you can take out loans. You can prove your equity that in the assets that you own, and use that to take out loans or whatever to benefit your life, basically. And if you're in a country in Africa where, you know, you're just living day by day and you don't exist on paper, basically is what it is. It's like it's impossible to enter that type of scenario. So I think it's great, obviously, what Charles and what Cardano is doing in Africa. But yeah, you had a great point about the amount of bribery that they're probably going to have to go through. And also just thinking of, okay, if the government is in that state in Africa, which it is, corruption is the definition basically of the governments in Africa generally.
I mean, every country
every government, yeah,
is
but maybe,
totally,
like,
utterly corrupt.
Okay, but like especially so, and probably, you know, I think the citizens in African countries are much more aware of the corruption there, and so it'd be interesting to see the level of acceptance of that kind of a system to something like blockchain tech that brings transparency and accountability, really, to actions. So obviously this ID application of blockchain tech is going to help these high school students, right? You said, did you say it was high school students?
Yeah, high school students.
To, you know, as a young adult, being able to have that kind of a foundation early on is going to be great, and it'll be great to see how that, you know, develops over the years. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction the governments give to this technology. You know, it might be like calling them out a little bit. Won't be able to get away with so much.
Possibly, you know, and you know that's one of the reasons why Charles is going after African nations instead of first world nations that love their government and you know trust their government and you know and have plenty of opportunities as well of investing in whatever. So like if people, you know, in America or Europe or whatever, or Western Europe, probably wouldn't understand the reasons behind this, and that these are the reasons behind it. It's because Africans really need it, okay? And then he can definitely move on to India, Bangladesh, and all these other different Asian countries as well. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity, and it's pretty exciting. So.
I mean, also this concept of bringing identification to the blockchain in a way, I mean, because you all know how we feel about KYC. If you don't, I have a video called Why KYC is a Scam. But so this concept of being able to prove your identity without necessarily forking over your super personal, private, sensitive identifying information to random third parties, it would be great. So I'm glad that they're developing something like this. There's already Civic has been doing something like this, but it's like, I'm really surprised that these kinds of solutions aren't getting a lot more traction or being utilized by these centralized exchanges. So
Yep.
One day.
So with that said, let's talk a little bit about Goguen. All right. So Goguen is pretty much the smart contract part of Cardano. And they've been working on this project for about 4 years now. And that's a long time. But but it just shows you how complex smart contracts are.
Yeah.
And like, that's why Ethereum is taking so long. You know, it's really difficult. And that's part of the reason, as you know, we are big fans of Solana because, you know, they don't even need a layer 2. They just figured out proof of history and they implemented it onto the blockchain, which is great.
So what's also important to note is, as with most other blockchains and these networks, they have somewhat of a timeline. And most recently, Cardano initiated the Merry hard fork, which is, I think, signified pretty much the halfway point from where they want to be. So even smart contracts aren't going to roll out until Goguen is completed later this year. If they abide by that timeline, that would be great. But basically, this very slow-moving development of Cardano, in my opinion, is a direct result of their peer review system. I did a video about 4 years ago talking about the pros and cons of Cardano. And that was one of them, was this concept of staying relevant, but also, being able to deploy code that is as resilient and bug-free as possible. We've seen what happens with Ethereum. A lot of bugs happen when they make big changes. So on the other hand, we have Cardano, which is not really rolling out anything, and so there's no bugs yet. But so it'll be really interesting to see when smart contracts roll out, and how beneficial that slow peer review process really is. Because again, this is an open source community of cryptocurrencies. So like you said, like we've seen Solana, we've seen a multitude of other Ethereum killers that have rolled out smart contracts at the start. And maybe they're not having the same kind of usability, the same kind of money rolling into it that will kind of bait hackers into figuring out how to get some of those coins. So maybe that's why we're not seeing so many hacks happen on these other projects. But I mean, Cardano is, in my opinion, that whole peer review system is okay. I understand it, but at the same time, maybe they could take more advantage of this whole open source community and like kind of sourcing from what other people have learned along the way.
Now to their benefit, Goguen is implementing it's KE Ethereum virtual machine. Okay, and so what that's going to do is Kevin. It's going to allow Solidity developers, which Solidity is the coding language of Ethereum. So it's going to allow these people to literally copy and paste their code into the Cardano network, and it's going to just transfer it over. So they don't actually need to learn, from what I understand, any Cardano language. So that's really easy. That's going to flow really quickly. And I think, people are going to want to test that as well. So that's great. So that's going to allow, the whole open source community to go ahead and test it and test out whether or not this is great. So that's going to be the real big test, in my opinion. So that's to come. So guys, this is the reason why I don't love Cardano right now. Okay? I don't love it.
You can't do much with it.
You can't do, you can stake it, but that's about it. You got to prove yourself. For instance, when I meet somebody, respect comes with them, earning that respect. Okay? You don't give people respect for no reason. All right? And so that's the same thing with coins as well, is that you don't just, I love it just because everybody else and their mother loves it. Like I have so many newbies calling me like, hey, I really love Cardano. I really love this Africa project. I'm like, that's just one thing, guys. Like, that's one little thing you're focusing on. There's a huge picture behind this, and you just need to be careful that you don't fall in love for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind, and just be level-headed. There's a reason why I love Bitcoin. There's a reason why I pretty much love Ethereum. I think it's great. They've proven themselves. They have incredible devs, and they've proven themselves. I keep saying that. Charles is yet to prove himself. You know what I mean? He's a very smart guy. He is. I know everybody loves him, but he's got to prove himself. All right?
That's another thing that I take issue with not only just Cardano, but basically with any network that kind of has like this one specific person that they think is like the end all be all, like the savior of crypto. It's happened with Justin Sun somehow. Dan Larimer is another classic example, from BitShares to Steem to EOS. He's had a lot of loyal followers who followed him from project to project. Charles Hoskins, obviously from Ethereum now to Cardano, is another one of these. And I mean, I understand the concept of being able to trust someone more if you know their identity, you can see their face, there's some accountability there. But for me, with crypto, they're just as easily going to be able to scam you and walk away as anyone else. And so I don't really care if there's a completely anonymous project, or like Bitcoin, for example, or like Ethereum even. Ethereum had like so many people as founders. And, you know, Vitalik is kind of like the guy who took it on a little bit, maybe reluctantly, but even now he's been stepping back. Also, Charlie Lee from Litecoin, another classic example. So for me, it's much more important to pay attention to what's being built, the code, how it's designed, basically, who's being rewarded, how, centralization of supply, centralization of power. Those all should have a lot more weight than just some guy's name and face slapped on it. Regardless of what he's built before, you never know what's going to happen. So pretty much like don't be lazy about it. You know what I mean? Like always think actions speak louder than words, or, you know, coding speaks louder than faces or names.
Sure, yeah. So I mean that's pretty much, you know, our consensus on this is that a lot of people ask us, like, well, hey, wait a second, it's your third largest position now.
Yeah.
Guys, it wasn't our third largest position before. It's risen so much, and that is why it's become one of our largest positions. We're essentially allowing it to be our third largest position. And, you know, if it gets any larger than that, I will probably...
Oh, yes.
Probably
I will
allocate some funds in probably Ethereum or Bitcoin, which is great. You know, that's perfect because some of these coins that we were in were very risky when we first got into it. Okay, like we put some money into coins that were like, let's give it a go. I have a little bit of faith in this. Let's see what happens. And it's turned into a glorious investment. Most of our coins have turned into amazing investments.
I mean, what we love probably most about Cardano and other people as well is the ability to stake it. You can participate in the security of the network, participate in helping to decentralize the network in that way. You can earn a passive income and use that as a way to buy other coins that you want. So I think the accessibility that Cardano has made their staking has helped it tremendously. And that's what I think we're being reflected in, number one, how much the supply is being staked and essentially locked away, not in circulation. Yep. But also the fact that, you know, there's no lockup period for when you're staking Cardano, unless you're doing it on like Binance and you're doing lock staking there. If you're just staking it on your own, which is easily done, if you want a tutorial on that, I did some tutorials for you, check it out, and in the video description down below. So it's not like people are locked in for a certain amount of time. It's 74% locked up, and anyone can take it out at any time, basically. And it's consistently been that way for a while.
So one of the other things that I'm really excited about is I'm always interested in governance, all right? So their new, their governance protocol is called Voltaire. So when you're staking, it's very decentralized, and it makes sure that, you know, somebody with tons and tons of money, tons of like Cardano, can't just overtake the staking pools, you know what I mean? So it allows for the little guy to kind of make his own staking pool.
And actually be more profitable than the big guy.
So I like this. And this is why this is one of the reasons why I have a lot of faith in Charles Hutchinson, because like the whole governance structure is incredible. And we can use governance structures in Cardano and all these other open source communities in real life too, because I mean, it has incentive structures that allow for people to actually want to excel the network. And the people that don't and try to hurt the network get like annihilated. So it's kind of cool, you know? So you don't need a policing structure or a military force. You can figure things out in a really peaceful way. And me being a voluntarist, I really appreciate that. Also, subscribe and like and share this video. And also stay disobedient, because this is what it's all about. You know, just don't listen to authority. Take care, guys. Bye.
Have a good one.